episode of the Breaks Music Show, The Singles, we have an interview with Jeff Elbel Ping, where Ed discusses Jeff's storied career, what led him to write Ping's latest album, the Threefinger Opera, as well as all the guest artists that performed on the album. So stay tuned for Ed Steele's interview with Jeff right after this.
Calling all unsigned independent bands and musicians. The Breaks Music Show is looking for you to be on our show. The Breaks Music Show is a new podcast that features one artist each week in their own 20-minute interview segment with 3 of their songs played on air. Hosted by yours truly, Ed Steele. The Breaks Music Show is positioned to be the best podcast for unsigned artists worldwide. To be considered for the Breaks Music Show, go to breaksmusicshow.com. Click on the Give Me a Break tab and complete the application. Also, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform and subscribe to our social media channels and mailing list. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production. Welcome to the Breaks Music Show. I'm your host, Ed Steele. Tonight in studio, we're joined with Jeff Elbel Ping. Good evening, Jeff.
Good evening, Ed. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, I've known about this interview for a couple of weeks, so we're going to jump into this thing right now. Now, your bio says you have quite a storied career here. Can you give us a brief rundown of that music career that you possess?
My first published album was actually with your illustrious producer in the band. Carl Oberg played in Farewell to Juliet. We recorded our debut album almost 30 years ago in 1992. That was an album called Echoes of Laughter. And after that, I moved to California, worked with a band there for about 5 years called Sunny Day Roses. It was one of those near misses. And then in 1998, this band began, Ping. The original idea was that we were going to have another singer, and I was brought along to play some festival shows, and they offered to book me under my own name. And I said, well, I have a band. They said, what's the band called? And I said, the band's called Ping. So they booked me as Jeff Elbel Ping. So it was just sort of stumbling my way up the ladder to the very third rung.
It's the Breaks Music Show with Jeff Elbel Ping. Okay, over the years, you've been a fixture at many music festivals. And how did that come about, and what were some of your roles besides being a performer?
Let's see. I used to live in Champaign, Illinois, so we were just a few hours away from the Cornerstone Festival. And basically, that's where my heroes played. My favorite bands back in the late 80s and the early 90s are still some of my favorite bands today. And they'd be actually including the Choir and the 77s, and they were fixtures at the Cornerstone Festival, which was held over every 4th of July week annually, and I would go there. Adam, again, would have been another favorite. They're no longer around, unfortunately, because we lost Gene Eugene quite some time ago. But that was the place where I aspired for the band Farewell to Juliet to play. And when the activity, one band or another, began to taper off, I was still immersed in the culture around that festival. It was a good family atmosphere. They shared a lot of my ideals and goals for music and community. And so I just looked for other ways to get involved, and I became the official, unofficial afternoon stage manager for my favorite stage. And that continued for the last 20 years of the festival. Cornerstone Festival concluded in 2012. And since then, the Audio Feed Festival has sprung up to help continue that community that was built around the gallery stage at the Cornerstone Festival.
It's the Breaks Music Show. All right, how would you best describe Jeff Elbel Ping?
I would say that musically we're influenced by large bands like Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, but especially in our case Delaney and Bonnie that were that kind of a band. They're sort of a jammy, throw everything into the mix kind of a band built around focused songs, but the Delaney and Bonnie model was built around male and female vocal interaction, so sort of 2 lead singers. And that's always been the root or the recognizable cornerstone of the Ping sound, I would say. The first record we made in 2001 called No Outlet had a woman named Carolyn Kay that we developed the sound together, and that was always fun. The guitar player, the lead guitar player that I've worked with since the beginning of Fairwood to Juliet is John Bretzloff. His wife is an extremely gifted performer and singer, and she made the next 2 Ping records. And the last 2 have been made with a woman named Maren Gaffron, who also came out of that Cornerstone Festival family.
It's the Breaks Music Show, Jeff Elbel and Ping. Now, the first song we're going to play is from your brand new release called Threefinger Opera. However, we're going to talk more about that here in just a moment. The first song we're going to do is Like Lightning on the Breaks Music Show.
Merciless and bold, I felt a touch of evil chill my very soul. From way beyond the black, a wicked kiss I can't forget. It lit me up like Christmas Day and rattled through my head. I can still remember the way it was before. It haunts me like sweet music that I can't hear anymore. It struck like lightning, it brought me low. And told me where to go. It struck like lightning. It knocked me down, down, down. It pushed me from the pinnacle and watched me hit the ground. It struck like lightning. The sage upon the mountain, the fool upon the hill. They have no words to offer me. I guess they never will. I used to sleep so peacefully, dreaming about the band. Now I'm wired at 3 a.m. staring at my hand. Don't ignore the feeling, don't let it pass you by. Don't take it for granted, it'll vanish before your eyes. Struck like lightning, it told me no. Yesterday looked mine, no hands, today look out below. It struck like lightning, it knocked me down, down, down. The breeze was sweet upon my cheek and then I hit the ground. It struck like lightning.
It's the Breaks Music Show, and tonight in studio, Jeff Elbel and Ping. And a couple of minutes ago, we hit on a project called Threefinger Opera. What is that album all about?
It takes a lesson from something I learned from my favorite lyricist, who is Steve Hindalong of the Choir. And one of his axioms is that the more personal a topic is, the more universal it becomes. The Threefinger Opera was written all around my experience with spine injury. So there's a cheery topic for you. But I made the record as a practical form of rehabilitation and a way for me to learn how to keep doing what I love when the ways that I had always done those things became inaccessible to me. So you see my left hand, I can do things like this now. 5 years ago, these fingers did not move; they were paralyzed due to the spine injury, and so I wrote 11 songs out of my experience and how I got to that point, how I was coping with it in the moment, and how I imagined I was going to cope with it in the future. And so my impetus for the album as a whole was my own experience, but it's presented to everybody else where they can see themselves in a situation like that. I hope that answers the question properly.
That was a very good answer, to be honest with you. It is Jeff Elbel and the Ping. All right, with the Ping being a collective, who are some of the musicians playing on Threefinger Opera?
So we've got the core band that I've been playing with for quite a long time. I mentioned Maren Gaffron, the female singer that we trade the vocals throughout the record. John Bretzloff is the lead guitar player that I've been playing with since 1991. He's brilliant. John Blum is a drummer who people might know from a band called Autumn War. Stacy Krejci is a bassist from a prog rock band called Animator, and he's also played with me since my first album. One of my earliest musical experiences on stage of any fair import was when his band Animator put on a theatrical production of The Wall and toured it. They brought me along as guitar too, so I had the solo in Mother, and I had to dress up in grease paint and a wig to play the part of the judge at the end of the show. So, and then we've got lots of guests. So we have guests from the choir. Derry Dougherty from the choir sings a song with us. Greg Lawless from Adam Again plays a song with us. Michael Rowe from the 77s plays a song with us. Glenn Kaiser from Resurrection Band plays a song with us. And then we actually have a couple of general market people that people at large might know a little bit better other than the Cornerstone family. Cy Kernan, the singer from The Fix, he's our narrator for the storyline. And then our percussionist is Tom Sharp from Mannheim Steamroller. So we have the trumpeter from Calexico is with us on several tracks. So it's quite a mix. Some really great people. So a dream team.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Jeff Elbel and Ping. All right, with such a big stable of musicians you played with over the years, how's your relationship with the band members and guests?
My relationship with the band members and guests. I trust and love the band members like family. My own actual family is so dispersed that I take family wherever I can find it. So I love my own actual family. I love the band family. And I find that I tend to interact with people best when we're doing something and making something. And so that's a natural for me. You know, band activity is social activity. And then the broader, the guests come into play through my experience as a music journalist or as a guitar tech and stage technician. So just like working with the band musicians, that's social activity, that's play. While getting to go work with a band like The Fix or, something like Calexico, that's another way for me to interact with the people. So I'm not in the business of turning away friends, and I'll take them where I can find them. And they certainly did beautiful work on the record.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Jeff Elbel and Ping. All right, we're going to play a song here in a couple of moments. Mr. Matarakis. What is
that's
that
about the
about?
villain in the storyline. So in the personal experience, this ties back to the spine injury. And I had no idea what was going on. All I knew was my hand wouldn't move, and I saw my musical life flash and vanish before my eyes. And the first orthopedic surgeon I went to see saw dollar signs flash before his eyes. So without really taking the time to understand what was peculiar about my case, he recommended the most dramatic and horrifying procedure I could have imagined at that point. And so, I did a very unkind thing. I changed his name, but I made him the bad guy in the story. But the point wasn't to demonize a surgeon or the medical industry. It was to set up the good guy, the hero who appears in the following song. So, but Mr. Matarakis is about that humongous scare that I got 5 years ago, when I was first dealing with this weird medical case. And this is the song that features Glenn Kaiser from Resurrection Band playing a guitar solo that stands the hair up on the back of my neck every single time I hear it.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Jeff Elbel and Ping, Mr. Matarakis.
Matarakis put the screws to me. You can find where it hurts and then give it a twist. You can sell me a smile and deliver a fist. Here's my guitar, you can have it for Matarakis put the screws to me. I can be the big man. I can stand the pain. I will take the medicine like fire in my veins. But it's too much to the jugular, and it's too much of my life. And he seems a bit too willing to put me to the knife. You can strike my back and pour salt in the wound. You can burn my record if you don't like the tune. You can slander my name, what good could it be? But don't let Mr. Matarakis put the screws to me. I have seen such filthy beings with a face of stone. I can almost smell the powder as it drills into my bones. And what I've lost is gone good. It's long gone either way. But I think about old Django found another way. Let Mr. Matarakis put the screws to me. Let Mr. Matarakis get his hooks in me. Let Mr. Matarakis point that knife at me. Don't let Mr. Matarakis.
It's the Breaks Music Show with Ed Steele, and I tell you what we're going to do. We have more great stuff coming up for you here with Jeff Elbel and Ping in moments on the Breaks Music Show.
Hey everyone, Nikki Young here, host of the international true crime podcast, Serial Napper. Let me guide you through some of the craziest true crime stories you've never heard of. Add in a dash of creepy, spooky, and weird, and you've got Serial Napper. I cover a new case each week, some of them unsolved, so I also host a monthly chat where we go through the evidence, the suspects, and theories. You don't want to miss this. Serial Napper is available on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Jeff Elbel Ping in studio tonight. All right, Jeff, we understand you recently had a successful Indiegogo campaign to release the Threefinger Opera and the 20th anniversary vinyl issue of Ping's debut album, No Outlet. Did you make any reconnections with fans from way back when?
Well, is this a leading question? I have to ask that part. We made a lot of reconnections with a lot of good old friends. People did climb out of the woodwork to support the project. I had no expectations that we would really succeed in the beginning, and we set a very modest goal, but people were very generous and very supportive. So a lot of that old Cornerstone community came back to support us, and people from early in Ping's career from Southern California before I relocated to Illinois. So I guess without getting specific on individuals, yes, a lot of old folks came by, and it was surprising really when people who hadn't heard of us at all jumped in. I really did think it was going to be mostly the family that came back, and that was probably the overwhelming majority, but everybody that supported was welcome and appreciated.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Jeff Elbel Ping. All right. One of the more interesting items about you is, besides being a musician, producer, and, of course, all things music, you are also an actual rocket scientist. Can you tell us more about how those two intersect?
Oh, they don't intersect, and that's what makes it a beautiful match, is because I can do one to get away from the other. If I'm really honest about it, though, the way they intersect is in the recording studio. My NASA work requires me to be a highly detail-oriented analyst, and that is my blessing and my curse as a recording engineer and a producer as well. So I can really get into the weeds, but I can also identify problems and find ways to correct them. So I'd say being numbers and analysis-oriented helps fine-tune. But you also need to be the happy-go-lucky musician that's willing to let something go and just be free and run and live. And so music helps me maintain sanity in that regard, where the NASA work, the rocket scientist work, does not.
It's Jeff Elbel Ping on the Breaks Music Show. All right. You're also a live music reporter for the Chicago Sun-Times and Illinois Entertainer. How did that come about, and who have you interviewed?
Okay. How did it come about? The very first thing I ever wrote about and had published in a major market newspaper was a review of an Adrian Belew record called Rise and Shine by his group called the Bears. They're a weird prog rock Beatles meets Frank Zappa type of pop group that I just loved back in the late 80s. That was the first thing I did. And from then I found out that it was a way to get CDs and concert tickets where you could work your way toward them. When I didn't have the budget as a college student to buy things, I found out that, if I go work for this piece and write a story, they'll give me a ticket. And so it was my way to see all the concerts I wanted to see. I would just work for them on the back end by writing reviews for papers. So I wrote for the Daily Illini in Champaign, Illinois. I moved back to California. I wrote for a couple of national magazines, or regionally based national magazines. But when I moved back to Illinois in 2004, the music editor at the Chicago Sun-Times actually appreciated one of those magazines I was writing for called The Big Takeover out of New York. And he contacted the Big Takeover's editor and asked whether he had any people in Chicago, and I and one other writer were in Chicago. So I got a call from Thomas Connor at the Chicago Sun-Times. The first thing I reviewed for him was a Gavin Rossdale from Bush show. And from there, I started advocating for things that I wanted to see and people that I wanted to review. I got a weekly column called In the Spotlight. And because of that, I was able to interview David Gilmour from Pink Floyd. I was able to interview Roger Daltrey from The Who. I was able to interview Alex Lifeson and Geddy Lee of Rush, just people that I loved. And of course, at the same time, writing for magazines like Illinois Entertainer, I'm still able to review the music and interview people who helped bring me up as a musician to where I am. So writing about acts like The Choir or Terry Taylor with Daniel Amos, the 77s and Adam again. I've been able to do a lot of that. It's been really, it's been a fun way to give back and a fun way to dive deeper into the music that I crave so much.
It's the Breaks Music Show with Jeff Elbel and Ping. All right, we're going to play a song here, Waiting Room. Can you cue that song up for us?
Yes, Waiting Room is born out of frustration with a true story and trying to keep your tongue in cheek at the same time. So my own situation with the weird bioelectrical oddity, as I like to call it, was sending me to the doctor 2 or 3 times a week for many months. And so the waiting room did become like a second home, as the song said, and you start to go stir crazy there. And so I just tried to, that song appears in the album at the part where everything seems manic and topsy-turvy, and you're trying to come to grips with a new normal and maintain a positive outlook and a sense of humor about the whole thing. So that's really what that song is about, and that is the song that features Derry Dougherty from the choir singing tenor vocal, while I sing baritone and Maren Gaffron sings alto. So from being a choir diehard to having a chance to record a song with the lead singer of the choir was no small thing to me.
Jeff Elbel and Ping. This is Waiting Room on the Breaks Music Show.
Never liked the hospital, never liked the clinic. Even in my worst malaise, you wouldn't find me in it. Funny how things turn around, my how things have changed. Now I'm in the doctor's view nearly every day. The waiting room is stuck on hold, the corner is my second home. Time ticks by as I grow old. Check my phone, check my pulse. The waiting room is stuck on hold. Monday I will take my chair. I'll take the same on Tuesday. Wednesday, Thursday, find me there, making plans for Friday. The waiting room is stuck on hold, the corner is my second home. Time ticks by as I grow old. Check my phone, check my pulse. The waiting room is stuck on hold. Nurses are like family, physicians are my friends. Reading old-time magazines till they call me in.
It's the Breaks Music Show. Jeff Elbel Ping in studio tonight. But before he gets out of here, Mr. Jeff himself, thank you for showing up tonight. And, Jeff, how can the listeners and the viewers and all that, how can they find your music?
Easiest way to find the Threefinger Opera right now is to visit ping.bandcamp.com. And the band name is P-I-N-G.
It's the Breaks Music Show, and thanks to Jeff Elbel Ping. We'll have more coming up for you soon on the Breaks Music Show.
Hi there, I want to let you know about an exciting podcast called The Breaks Music Show. So what is The Breaks Music Show? The Breaks Music Show is America's most informative new radio show highlighting the world's best unsigned artists. Be sure to find us on your favourite podcast platform as well as YouTube, Rumble, Twitter and more. Remember, every Friday is when you can hear interviews and music from 3 of the best unsigned artists in the world. The Breaks Music Show is a Grebo Inc. production.